The rise and fall of Richard Fuld and Lehman Brothers. Richard Fuld, a name synonymous with the collapse of Lehman Brothers, remains a central figure in the discussion of the 2008 financial crisis. His career trajectory, the rise of Lehman Brothers as one of the largest investment banks in the world, and the subsequent downfall have shaped the global financial landscape. But who was Richard Fuld, beyond the headlines and the dramatic fall of the company he once led? Born on April 28, 1946 in New York City, Richard S. Fuld Jr. grew up in an environment that balanced privilege with a steely drive for success. His father, Richard Fuld Sr., worked as an executive for a different investment bank, and his mother, whom he was close to, remained largely out of the public eye. It was his father's profession that set the stage for Fuld's future in finance. Raised in a suburban environment, Fuld attended a private high school before enrolling at the University of Colorado Boulder. He earned a degree in political science. But rather than pursuing a political career, Fuld turned his focus to finance, setting the foundation for a path that would lead him to the helm of one of the world's most powerful financial institutions. Fuld's early career was marked by hard work and a relentless commitment to climbing the corporate ladder. He joined Lehman Brothers in 1969 as a commercial paper trader, and over the next few decades, his ambition and ability to navigate the high-stakes world of investment banking helped him ascend to the role of CEO in 1994. Under his leadership, Lehman Brothers became a prominent player in global finance. His business acumen was undeniable. He took calculated risks, expanded the firm's operations, and oversaw impressive growth, turning Lehman into a financial giant. However, behind the scenes there were cracks in the foundation. Fuld was known for his tough, even abrasive, management style. He ran the company with an iron fist, making decisions that were often criticized for being too aggressive, dismissive of potential risks. It was this attitude, combined with a growing dependence on high-risk financial products such as subprime mortgage-backed securities, that ultimately led to Lehman Brothers' downfall. As the global economy teetered on the brink of collapse, Lehman's overexposure to these risky assets, and the refusal to seek a merger or government bailout, left the firm vulnerable. In September 2008, Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, triggering a chain reaction that sent shockwaves through the financial system, contributing to the global financial crisis. Fuld's leadership during this period was controversial. He became a symbol of Wall Street's excesses, the poster child for a generation of bankers whose decisions would precipitate the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. In the aftermath of Lehman's collapse, Fuld faced public scrutiny, particularly regarding his compensation and his role in the bank's risky practices. Many viewed him as a villain, a man whose greed and refusal to recognize the impending crisis led to the destruction of thousands of jobs, the loss of savings for countless investors, and the destabilization of the global economy. Despite the criticism, Fuld remained unapologetic. In interviews after Lehman's collapse, he defended his actions, and claimed that he had done everything in his power to save the firm. His legacy, however, is forever tied to the financial ruin of Lehman Brothers and the broader repercussions felt worldwide. In his personal life, Fuld is known to be a private individual, rarely opening up about his family. He was married to his wife Kathy for many years, and the couple has children, though they have kept their personal lives out of the public eye. Fuld's wealth was significant, but in the wake of the bankruptcy, much of it was wiped away, leaving him with an uncertain financial future. There are aspects of Fuld's life that remain shrouded in mystery. Rumors have circulated about his harsh demeanor, his treatment of employees, and his strained relationships with colleagues. His reputation as a demanding boss is well known, but less is known about his interactions with those closest to him, his family and those who worked directly with him. Was he a man of principle, or was he simply a product of an unforgiving financial world that values profits above all else? The true Richard Fuld, it seems, remains elusive. For all the controversy surrounding him, there were aspects of Fuld's leadership that some would argue deserve recognition. Under his tenure, Lehman Brothers expanded significantly and earned the reputation of being a highly respected investment bank. His vision for the company and his strategic decisions helped it grow into a formidable force in the world of finance. However, the reckless decisions that led to its ultimate demise cannot be overlooked. and these overshadow any positive aspects of his legacy. In the end, Richard Fuld's story is one of ambition, excess, and the devastating consequences of unchecked greed. His name is forever linked to the Lehman Brothers collapse, a symbol of Wall Street's excesses and the dangers of a financial system driven by short-term gains and a disregard for long-term consequences. 5 negatives about Richard Fuld. Fuld was known for his abrasive leadership style, often alienating colleagues and subordinates with his harsh demands and lack of empathy. His refusal to acknowledge the risks associated with Lehman Brothers' investments in subprime mortgages ultimately led to the firm's collapse. Fuld's obsession with profit and expansion led to reckless decision-making that jeopardized the financial security of thousands of employees and investors. His refusal to seek a merger or government bailout for Lehman Brothers in the face of the impending crisis was widely criticized. Despite the destruction caused by Lehman's bankruptcy, Fuld continued to defend his actions, refusing to take responsibility for the catastrophic failure. 5 positives about Richard Fuld. Fuld's leadership helped transform Lehman Brothers into a global financial powerhouse during the 1990s. His strategic vision for the firm allowed Lehman to expand into new markets and diversify its portfolio. Fuld's ability to navigate the complex world of finance helped him climb the ranks to become CEO of Lehman Brothers. Under his leadership, Lehman Brothers attracted a talented workforce, many of whom remained loyal to the firm even after its collapse. Fuld was a fiercely determined individual, dedicated to the success of Lehman Brothers, and always willing to take risks in order to achieve that success. The story of Richard Fuld is one of contradictions: ambitious, yet reckless, visionary yet blind to the risks around him. His name will forever be associated with the Lehman Brothers collapse, a stark reminder of the dangers of financial excess and the fragility of the global economy. Regarding his personal life, Fuld's wealth and extravagant lifestyle were well documented, but details about his relationships and personal habits remain largely unknown. He was not known for living a lavish life in the public sense, but as a top executive in Wall Street, he undoubtedly enjoyed privileges such as private jets, luxury cars, and high-end residences. His family background was that of an upper-middle-class household, which gave him the foundation for a successful career, but he never fully embraced the media spotlight. In his later years, Richard Fuld continued to be involved in financial consulting and investments, though his public profile was significantly diminished following Lehman Brothers' bankruptcy. Despite the criticism, he remained a prominent figure in the financial world, often appearing in interviews and public forums, defending his actions, and trying to clear his name. Richard Fuld's wealth at the time of Lehman's collapse was estimated to be in the hundreds of millions, but much of it was lost in the aftermath. His legacy, however, continues to be debated. Some view him as a scapegoat, while others see him as the architect of his own downfall. Fuld is often regarded as a symbol of Wall Street's hubris and its role in the financial meltdown. At the time of writing, Richard Fuld is alive and living a relatively low-profile life. He is no longer the powerful figure he once was, but his influence in the financial world is still felt, albeit in a more subdued manner. 5 surprising facts. Richard Fuld was known to have a deep interest in political science, despite choosing a career in finance. His leadership at Lehman Brothers was marked by a constant push for expansion, even as the financial landscape began to shift in the early 2000s. Despite being widely criticized for his role in Lehman's collapse, Fuld continues to defend his actions, claiming that he did everything he could to save the firm. Fuld's wealth, much of which was tied to the success of Lehman Brothers, was nearly wiped out after the bankruptcy. Fuld is often portrayed as a ruthless businessman, but there are few accounts of his personal interactions, making his true character difficult to define. Richard Fuld's story is one of ambition, excess, and catastrophic failure. His wealth was lost in the collapse of Lehman Brothers, but the lessons from his rise and fall continue to resonate in the world of finance. As for films or documentaries, several have explored the collapse of Lehman Brothers, including Inside Job, The Last Days of Lehman Brothers, and Too Big to Fail, each providing a different perspective on the events leading to the bank's downfall and the aftermath that continues to shape global finance today. Richard Fuld, once the CEO of Lehman Brothers, the investment bank that collapsed in 2008, now leads a relatively low-profile life. far removed from the public spotlight that once surrounded him during his tenure at the helm of one of the world's most prominent financial institutions. After Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, Fuld faced intense scrutiny, but he has largely remained out of the limelight since then, despite occasional media appearances. In the years following the collapse of Lehman Brothers, Fuld continued to stay involved in the financial world, though not in the same influential capacity he once held. He took on roles as a financial consultant, often offering his expertise to hedge funds and private equity firms. His post-Lehman career has been somewhat subdued, with reports suggesting he was involved in various investment ventures and advisory roles for financial firms. However, he avoided returning to any major corporate leadership positions that would place him at the forefront of the financial world. While many people expected Richard Fuld to become a scapegoat for the 2008 financial crisis, it is important to note that his post-Lehman life has not been without its challenges. He has been seen as a figure of ridicule by some, but also as someone who has had to come to terms with the fallout of his decisions. Despite the widespread criticism, Fuld has made public statements in his defense, claiming that he was merely one of many who contributed to the collapse. However, his leadership style and decisions, particularly his failure to seek a government bailout or merger when Lehman Brothers was on the brink, continue to be subjects of controversy. Interestingly, Fuld has kept a relatively private personal life since the bankruptcy, and much of his current lifestyle remains hidden from the public eye. Unlike many other high-profile Wall Street executives, he hasn't been involved in any notable public scandals since Lehman's collapse. He has kept a lower profile, with limited interviews and appearances in the media. Reports suggest that he resides in a private estate in the United States, and while the exact location remains unconfirmed, he is known to prefer a more isolated lifestyle away from the bustling social scenes of New York City. Fuld's family, particularly his wife Kathy and their children, have largely stayed out of the public spotlight, and there have been no major reports of any public conflicts or scandals. His children, whose names have been deliberately kept out of media coverage, have not followed in their father's footsteps into the world of finance. It seems that, much like Fuld himself, his family members have also preferred to avoid the media's gaze. In recent years, Richard Fuld has become somewhat of a recluse in the financial world. He does not appear to be actively involved in any major financial ventures, holding significant positions in any firms. Some reports suggest that he may have taken on a quieter role in philanthropy, business consulting, but very little has been confirmed. The majority of his wealth, which was once tied to the success of Lehman Brothers, was greatly diminished after the bankruptcy, leading many to wonder how he managed financially in the years following the collapse. One of the rarest facts about Richard Fuld is his continued belief in the importance of deregulation in the financial sector, a belief that some have speculated still influences his opinions and actions behind the scenes. Despite the financial devastation caused by the crisis, Fuld has not publicly reversed his stance on deregulation and free market capitalism. He continues to stand by the notion that the collapse of Lehman Brothers was an event that could not have been avoided, but that it was also part of the larger system of financial evolution. Fuld also remains critical of the political responses to the crisis. He has voiced his dissatisfaction with the way the US government handled the collapse of Lehman Brothers and the subsequent bailouts of other financial institutions. In interviews, he has expressed frustration over the systemic issues within the banking system that contributed to the global financial collapse, and he remains vocal about his belief that the regulatory environment in the US should not impose heavy-handed controls on the financial industry. As for his health, there are few reports on Richard Fuld's physical condition, as he has kept a very private life in recent years. However, given his age, he is currently in his late 70s, it is likely that Fuld's health and lifestyle are becoming more of a concern for him as time passes. Fuld's net worth, once estimated to be over $1 billion at the height of Lehman Brothers' success, has reportedly decreased significantly after the bankruptcy, with various reports claiming his wealth is now much lower. Overall, Richard Fuld's life today is far removed from the high-stakes world of investment banking that made him famous. He continues to live a quieter life surrounded by a close-knit family and is largely away from the public eye. though his legacy as the leader of Lehman Brothers during its disastrous collapse is firmly cemented, his post-Lehman existence appears to be focused on maintaining a low profile, with minimal involvement in the business world that once defined him. Despite his fall from grace, Richard Fuld's name remains a key figure in the history of the 2008 financial crisis. His actions during the collapse of Lehman Brothers are still a point of contention, and his story continues to serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked corporate ambition and risk-taking in the financial world. While many questions about his life and career remain unanswered, Richard Fuld's role in shaping the events of the 21st century financial landscape is undeniable. Lehman Brothers, once one of the most influential investment banks in the world, was involved in a variety of large-scale and high-profile projects before its collapse in 2008. These projects spanned multiple industries from real estate to finance, and many of them left a significant mark on the global economy. Below are some of the biggest and most famous projects that Lehman Brothers played a major role in. 1. Real estate development and investment. Lehman Brothers had a significant presence in real estate, especially in the mid-2000s, as the firm expanded aggressively into property investment. One of the most notable real estate projects they were involved in was the development of large-scale commercial real estate. Lehman invested in and financed major office buildings, hotels, and residential projects across the US and globally. One of the most prominent real estate ventures was the 2007 acquisition of Archstone, a major US real estate investment trust, REIT, that owned over 80,000 apartment units across the country. At its peak, Lehman Brothers owned a substantial portion of Archstone, and the deal was valued at approximately $22 billion. This massive commitment would later contribute to the firm's downfall as the real estate market began to collapse. 2. Mortgage-backed securities, MBS, and collateralized debt obligations, CDOs. Lehman Brothers was one of the major players in the creation and trading of mortgage-backed securities, MBS, and collateralized debt obligations, CDOs. These financial products were central to the 2008 financial crisis. Lehman was a key participant in the subprime mortgage market, packaging high-risk mortgages into securities and selling them to investors. As the housing bubble grew, Lehman expanded aggressively into this market, pushing more risky mortgage products onto the global stage. However, when the housing market collapsed in 2007 and 2008, the value of these MBS and CDOs plummeted, leaving Lehman with billions of dollars in bad debts. This led to the firm's ultimate collapse. 3. The acquisition of North American Mortgage Company in 1999. Lehman Brothers expanded its influence in the mortgage market by acquiring North American Mortgage Company for $1.5 billion. This acquisition marked a significant turning point in Lehman's strategy, as it solidified the bank's position in the subprime mortgage sector, which would later prove to be disastrous. Through this acquisition, Lehman entered into the home loan and mortgage business, lending to individuals with lower credit ratings. As part of the growing trend of mortgage-backed securities, Lehman began packaging these loans into MBS and CDOs, contributing to the financial environment that led to the 2008 collapse. 4. Lehman's investment in Barclays. In the wake of its 2008 bankruptcy, Lehman Brothers' Asian, European, and US operations were sold to Barclays Bank in a major acquisition deal. This deal allowed Barclays to purchase Lehman's operations for $1.75 billion in stock, which helped Barclays expand its investment banking arm and solidify its position in the US and global financial markets. While the deal was not exactly a project initiated by Lehman, it was one of the most significant events surrounding Lehman's collapse. This acquisition, particularly Barclays' purchase of Lehman's U.S. investment banking operations, was one of the largest cross-border financial acquisitions during the crisis, and it allowed Barclays to emerge as one of the leading financial institutions in the aftermath of Lehman's fall. 5. The formation of Lehman Brothers private equity. In the early 2000s, Lehman Brothers expanded its operations into private equity, with the creation of the Lehman Brothers Merchant Banking Division. This unit became one of the largest private equity firms in the world, managing billions in assets. Through this division, Lehman participated in various high-profile buyouts, investments and acquisitions in multiple sectors such as Carlyle Group investment. Lehman was involved in the Carlyle Group, a prominent private equity firm which focused on leveraged buyouts and investments in defense, technology, and energy sectors. Top-tier corporate acquisitions. Lehman helped facilitate the acquisition of several prominent companies, including those in the healthcare, telecommunications and media sectors. Lehman's private equity division was at the forefront of leveraged buyouts and corporate restructuring in the 2000s, dealing with high-stakes investment deals and driving significant market transformations. This was one of the firm's most lucrative operations, but when the market collapsed, much of its portfolio lost significant value. 6. The integration with investment bank Nomura. Another significant post-collapse project involved the integration of Lehman's Asia-Pacific operations with the Japanese investment bank Nomura. Nomura bought the bulk of Lehman's operations in the region, and this marked the firm's expansion into international markets. The deal, valued at approximately $2.50 billion, helped Nomura grow its presence in the Asia-Pacific region and in global markets, and it was an essential element in the aftermath of Lehman's bankruptcy. 7. Lehman's role in the acquisition of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York's role in the financial crisis. Before its collapse, Lehman Brothers was one of the primary institutions interacting with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to negotiate the restructuring of firms and deal with emergency financial assistance. Lehman played a major role in trying to gain liquidity through government-backed funding and financial support during the financial crisis, but its inability to secure a bailout led to its eventual bankruptcy. The public and government reaction to Lehman's failure is often considered one of the most critical moments in the financial crisis, as it exposed the weaknesses in the banking system and the regulatory environment.